Hello and welcome to JewishTV.media. This is the fourth in our series on happiness. As I mentioned in the previous talk, one of the greatest obstacles to happiness is a sense of self, a sense of ego, a sense of self-absorption. The reality is that we often get frustrated by the circumstances of our lives. We expect to be in a certain place and there's a traffic jam and we don't make it there. We expect to meet a person, the person doesn't arrive. All of these minor annoyances in life. And we think of ourselves as being entitled to having a good life, an easy life. We think of ourselves entitled to everything going our way. For things to go where we want, when we want, how we want, under all times and all circumstances. And when it doesn't happen, we get frustrated and we get upset. The truth of the matter is that if instead of thinking of life as bad things happening to us, we think of life as a mission, and the things that happen to us are exactly what is meant to happen to us. We are exactly where we're meant to be. We are exactly where we are meant to be, when we're meant to be, how we're meant to be. And the purpose of it all is to be able to fulfill some form of divine mission. Then our attitude changes entirely. Take, for example, the story of Joseph and his brothers. Now, Joseph forgave his brothers absolutely. And just imagine this. They wanted to kill him. They sold him down into Egypt. They never expected to see him again. And it was only through circumstances that they came across him. He had every reason to punish them, to be vengeful towards them, to pay them back for the terrible things that they did for him. But he didn't do any of those things. And why not? If you take a look at the verse, and Joseph explains it to his brothers, he says, "You think that you sold me over here to Egypt, and that I'm a victim of those circumstances. That's your way of thinking. But my way of thinking is entirely different. My way of thinking is, that the reason I am where I am is because God has sent me before you as a means of giving you sustenance at a time of famine." In other words, Joseph didn't view his circumstances as a result of the brothers selling him to Egypt. Of course, that was the mechanism. But rather, he looked at it as God wanting him to be in Egypt, and that the sale was just a means to that end. And therefore, he never got angry with his brothers. Everything which happens to a person happens because it's meant to happen. The only question which I have is how I'm going to react to that circumstance. Last lecture I quoted from Professor Viktor Frankl. Professor Viktor Frankl says a very interesting thing. He says a lot of people ask about the terrible things that happen in life. Why did this happen? Why did this occur? And of course, Viktor Frankl himself was a victim of the Holocaust. And if anyone had a right to question, he certainly did, as did all the victims of the Holocaust. And yet, his attitude was that it's not ours to question life, but rather life questions us. God questions us. God asks us, what are we responding to the challenges of life? We can be given circumstances which are extraordinarily negative, and we can take those lemons and turn them into lemonade. We can take the negative and we can make it into something positive. We can be stuck in that traffic jam, and during that time we can make an important phone call, connect ourselves to another human being. We can find ourselves in Japan instead of New York and fulfill some form of divine mission there, seeking out another Jew, bringing him back to Judaism, seeking out another non-Jew and teaching him out the value of Israel. It's our responsibility to be able to rise to every occasion, to be able to understand that we are where we're meant to be, when we're meant to be, and all of it's part of the divine plan. And if we think that way, we stop getting frustrated with life, and rather we transform what is apparently someone else would interpret as something bad, and we see it for the deep good that it really is, just as Joseph demonstrated with his brothers. Be happy till next time. JewishTV.media.
JewishTV.media